I'd like to call this meeting of the Board of Education to order. Chris, could you call the roll, please?
Mrs. Detzel.
Here.
Mr. Harlow.
Here.
Mr. Heather.
Here.
Mr. Engel.
Here.
Mr. Detzel.
Here.
We did already do our Pledge of Allegiance at our earlier meeting this evening, so we're going to go on to approve the regular meeting minutes from December 12th. Do I have a motion to approve those minutes?
So moved. Second.
It's been moved in second. Were there any questions, corrections for the meeting? Okay, Chris, call the roll. Call for the vote. Motion passes 5-0. And we will move on to our legislative update. Michael?
Not much to report. The legislature was sworn in last week for the 132nd General Assembly, and they will be taking up a number of education-related issues and, of course, the budget as well. And that looks to be a little tight this year. The governor's office was making some noise starting in October, really, about revenue projections perhaps not being where they were, where they thought they would be. Nothing major, but weren't quite hitting their targets. So it'll probably be a pretty tight budget, pretty close to what we've been getting lately. So that's my update.
Thank you. I know your meeting's tomorrow night. Do you have anything, Butler Tech update?
Just one thing that Senator Rob Portman came up to the Bioscience building a couple of weeks ago and was there for about an hour and a half and was impressed with everything and the cutting edge that Butler Tech is on in the bioscience and that corridor there with all the medical from there up to Dayton. He was really impressed with it. And, other than that, yeah, our board meeting is tomorrow night, our organizational meeting.
Okay. We'll move on to special reports. We have Jamel Weathers here, principal of Welch Elementary.
Good evening. Good evening. I'm Jamel Weathers, the principal of Welch Elementary. This evening, when I was planning for this evening, I had lots of positive things to choose from to talk about Welch, but I wanted to focus on one of our large building goals, and that was the focus on climate and culture. And one of our building goal has us ensuring that 100% of our students, their parents, will receive positive phone calls each quarter. We wanted to focus on that as a way to collaborate with the restorative practices and building a positive environment for our families to feel good about sending their kids to school each day. I also want to tell you not just what the program is that we selected, but how we got to that. I think sometimes in education we just power through and make the changes and say, this is great, trust us. And so I wanted to talk to you a little bit quickly about how we got to the decision to implement the plan we chose and the work that went behind that. First, we chose our plan. We got together with our leadership team over the summer and reviewed several plans, and we ultimately selected a plan based off of Tough Kids, which is a research-based program. The design of the program focused on positive reinforcement of behaviors. It connected with our already current tiered work. So those cones that you see with the red and the yellow and the green, we have tiered consequences as well within this plan. It required consistent language, and more importantly for me, it equalized the value of all adults. So there was not this idea of, oh, you're just the custodian or you're just that helper teacher. Everyone has equal value towards the children, and they begin to see that value, and I'll show you how that happens. And then it also partnered very nicely with the restorative practice training that we had. So I'm hoping that while I'm talking, you're recognizing that the things that you offer and support for our buildings, like the BLT, funding the leadership meetings that we do in the summer, that all of those things are really important and we utilize them. So that didn't work. So we got together, decided on this plan, and then we began our real work. We wanted to make sure that the program really suggested, and research shows that no more than 5 rules is what you should do within the classroom. We knew that we needed to have those rules consistently posted throughout the buildings. And we knew that we had to review and discuss the expectations with students regularly. So the rules that we decided upon were to follow adult directions immediately, keep your hands and feet and objects to yourself, kind of like being at Kings Island on the roller coaster, using friendly language, taking care of other students and the school's property, and keeping toys and non-school items at home. And so those rules, if you come to Welch, are posted all throughout the building and in every classroom. And then we have some more specific rules around recess behavior and those things posted in areas where there's recess or cafeteria, specific cafeteria rules that fall underneath this, so that they know specifically what behaviors are expected. We also wanted to make sure, after we decided what the rules were, how we were going to implement this plan. How were we going to communicate with families? We determined how we were going to make those communications happen, when, and why was that important for us. We created an OCT, which stands for Other Class Timeout. We knew that having students just file down to the office was not going to be of value. We had to increase the teachers' authority in the classroom and buy-in so that the students knew, yeah, I have to listen to them, the power's not in the office. This is where I need to be, and this is where I'm going to get this information. And so the Other Class Timeout has become something that we've really utilized. And the Other Class Timeout Buddies is where the teachers partner. And so we've found some positive relationships have been built through, okay, I'm frustrated with this teacher, I'm not able to follow the rules, I need a break. They go to the Buddies classroom. The students are able to not only have that time out and take a breath, but also build a positive relationship with a different teacher. So we're increasing those relationships in the building. We needed to realign our referral forms. Not necessarily the state referral forms, all of that is the same, but the forms that the teachers fill out, and then also create forms that they use in the other class timeouts. So we're able to track, did this student go to their partner teacher 15 times? Did they go once? Like, what is the trend? Is it always happening at 1 o'clock? Is it always happening right after lunch? Are they angry? Are they sad? Like, what is the trend of the data? And so our forms are able to help us track the students and really provide more direct support to what they need. And then finally, like you all are so good at doing, we had to figure out how we were going to budget our celebrations. I mentioned that this program is definitely geared toward positive reinforcement, and so that involves celebrations that I'm looking forward to telling you about. So, we used our day, part of our days before school started, to train the staff. Mr. Barry, our new Dean of Students, helped with that. And we went over all of the expectations. We talked about with the adults, what does that mean? What does it look like? What are the steps you take? When is it appropriate to skip the other class timeout and come directly to the office? What does all of that look like for our day-to-day practices? And it was really interesting to get everybody aligned. Everybody, as we go through programs and we think things are routines, sometimes it's nice to get back together and recalibrate that so we can all be working on the same end goal. We created letters to the parents, and we planned our rollout during our back-to-school night to share that with the parents as well. We also conducted PowerPoints, and then, of course, the phone calls that we make, which ties directly back into our goal that each parent is receiving at least one positive phone call every quarter. And then we knew that we needed to use our strategic lessons that were continuous and very specific to what we wanted to use. We chose to do that through daily announcements, but also using our PUP time, which you may know as flooding. Pup Time stands for Power Up Panthers. And so we use a portion of every Wednesday to talk about a specific behavior or expectation that we need to focus on. And we align that with restorative practices and use our circle times in that area as well. So here's what it actually looks like. Every morning, sometimes the adults go to their mailbox and have big smiles on their faces because they have Principal Panthers tickets. Other times they're, grumbling. But that's okay. We'll take it. We give it out. But they're given a Principal Panther ticket. And it's random, so no one knows who has the mystery tickets. The idea is that when you catch a student being good, you identify it immediately, fill out the ticket, and give them the principal's ticket, and they now have their Principal Panther ticket. At the end of the day, you make a phone call home to their parent, and you say, congratulations, your child was caught being good today. I saw them do X, Y, and Z, and we just want to say you have a great kid, and we're happy they're here at Welch. They are, the results are usually, not usually, they always are good, but usually we get this, what now? No, they're not in trouble. And once we get over that hump, they're very pleased. And the students are excited too because they know they're going to be getting that letter. But then also the student brings their Principal Panthers Club ticket to the office. We celebrate in the office, give a little high five, talk specifically about what the behavior they did was and how it positively impacts Welch. And then we draw into a jar with a number. Their ticket is assigned a number. And when you walk into Welch, we have a beautiful glass display case, and we have a huge banner, about the size of that cabinet, with a 15 by 15 grid. And their name is placed on the number that they drew. And so that first line that gets filled in randomly, first 15 names that fill in a line, are invited to the Mystery Principals Award. So that's sometimes it's been 15 minutes of extra recess. So they go outside and they play with Mr. Barry, and Miss Weathers twirls the jump rope. But it's playing, right? So we play outside, or one time we watched a short movie, or we had popcorn. One time we had a pizza party. So it's different every time. It's a mystery. Nobody knows what it is. But it kind of builds up the excitement to, oh, it's my name. And as those rows get closer, the behaviors increase because they're excited to maybe get their Principal Panthers ticket and fill in that row. And then we also give their name and the specific deed on the announcements. We have been doing that at the end of the day, but just as at our last PD experience on Friday, we decided we would do that in the mornings now. Because we felt like if we give them the specific deeds that they're looking at, we will maybe see more increase of those deeds that day, as opposed to saying it at the end of the day and by tomorrow morning, they don't know what day it is. So they certainly probably didn't remember. But that's how the Principal Panthers Club works. We've had a lot of excitement around it. The students come in the morning and they check out the board to see where they are, see how close it's getting. They check it out on their way out. And they're excited to get their cards, and so we know that there's some buy-in. With any new initiative, we always encourage reflection and continued focus. And so we've noticed, or I at least have noticed, that all adults are viewed as valuable. I have not received any phone calls this year saying, why is that person? Why is the custodian talking to my child in the cafeteria about what they can and cannot do? We haven't had those conversations this year, as opposed to I did have some of those last year. This program really focuses on the positive, and we know what you focus on is what you receive. And so we're really trying to remember to focus on those positives so that we can get more of that. Every student, first quarter and second quarter, received at least one positive phone call. So every parent was exposed to that, and I feel good about that. I feel like that really gives our community value and knows that we're looking for the good in their child. Everyone loves their child, and so we want them to know we appreciate them as well. And that building positive relationships is something that we all need to do. We continue to focus on creating the explicit and consistent instruction. So it's easy to slip back into focusing on, you know, oh, this bad behavior is driving me crazy, and you just keep focusing on it. But we know that if we teach explicitly and consistently what we want, and the positive behaviors will get that. So we continue to talk about those things and ways that we can be better at that. We continue to monitor the relationship of the program and how it's impacting our discipline data. I know that, you know, once you make a change, that the data doesn't show it right away, and so we're monitoring that consistently. We do struggle sometimes with the phone access. At the end of the day, there's 15 people and 4 phones, and so that kind of causes some mumble jumbo at the end of the day. But we work around it, and we try to come up with clever ways to get it done. And I'm very appreciative of the flexibility of my staff in doing that and ensuring that all those parents are contacted. And we continue to work on building partnerships so that we can provide exciting mystery awards so that students are buying in and excited about the program long term. And I invite you to stay tuned to the positive things, but I'm also going to give you a Principal Panthers ticket. Not because you've been so good, but because I invite you to come to Welch and hand out a Principal Panthers ticket to a student that you catch being good and make a phone call to their parent. Here, I'll give you some.
That's awesome.
Any questions for me?
I think I read on there that every student receives at least 2 of these.
Every student has received at least 1 per quarter.
Okay.
Now that we've finished second quarter, they've each at least received 2.
So you said you're tracking data, discipline data. Do you have any results versus this year versus last year?
This year and last year looks very different for us as far as discipline. We have some what we lovingly call frequent flyers, and so I have not been able to tease out that just yet because the first semester discipline data just came out. So I don't have that specifically. I'm happy when I put it together. I'll be happy to send it to you. Like I said, I know that our big disciplines are larger than last year, but I also know that those are due to just a handful of numbers of students. So I have some more
So
teasing out to
the
do.
overall environment has improved from last year to this year?
In general, I would say yes. I would say that the environment, the smiling and the excitement about doing good things is being recognized, and that has made kids happy to do good things. And last year, I think that we just expected you to do that. There wasn't anything in place to reward students or build that intrinsic motivation to do the right thing. And so this year, that's there, and that's a huge improvement.
Your population at Welch, do you have a lot of kids that are there the whole time for K, kindergarten, first and second, or?
We have transiency, just like the rest of the district. Most of our students stay K through 2. Yeah. And I'm hoping that when we get the full day, they'll really be there, because our kindergarten is very low right now. But I do believe that's because they're looking for a full day program. So if we can get them right from the start, they won't want to leave.
Anybody else have any questions?
I have a comment, but it's all directed at Brenda Miller for doing all this data research for you, Jamel, which we will share with you eventually. But just so Jamel knows, her suspensions are 8 less at this semester than last year. Her detentions are 14 less this year than at last year. So whatever you're doing is showing improvement in your discipline and other things. So
He did that really quick. Maybe I need to move on my quick.
this is all thanks to Brenda Miller. I had nothing to do with it.
Thanks, Brenda Miller. You're hired.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good job.
Okay, at this time, we'll move into reports from employee organizations. Do we have anyone from certificated and licensed employees? Classified? Report from any school-related organizations. Seeing none, we'll move into community comments. I have not received any cards for community comments. So we'll go to Tom.
The first item is a certificated licensed personnel action item. It is certificated licensed personnel retirements and resignations. On this list, I would like to recognize David Main and thank him for his 15 years of service to the staff, students, and parents at Pleasant Run Middle School. Also on this list is Terry Sutton, who worked countless hours for Jenny Blust in this office, did amazing things here in AO. Because of cuts or differences or changes we made last year, Terry went back to the classroom this year, but she will be retiring, so we are very appreciative for Terry's years of service also. Superintendent recommends the Board of Education approve the certificated licensed personnel retirements and resignations as listed.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Are there any questions regarding the retirements and resignations?
I'd just like to say I worked with Terry and Dave, and they were both great people for the district.
Okay. Chris, we'll call for the vote. Motion passes 5-0.
Next item or category is a classified personnel action item, classified retirements and resignations. The superintendent recommends the Board of Education approve the classified retirements and resignations as listed.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Are there any questions on the classified retirements and resignations? Okay, Chris? Okay, motion passes 5-0.
The next item is a fiscal item. It is approval of new funds, account description, a work study, and it's approval of the student work study funds. The work study program provides students with the opportunity to work in integrated community settings to build job readiness skills, including but not limited to on-site experience, customer service, practice handling money, social and communication opportunities. The work study program will generate revenue through sales of products and services and expend funds through donations, purchases of supplies, and materials and transportation costs as they relate to the program. The treasurer and superintendent recommend the Board of Education approve the new fund as listed.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Are there any questions regarding the student work study? Okay, Chris? Motion passes 5-0.
The next item is a fiscal item also. It's a resolution of necessity for the renewal of an emergency tax levy. Section 1, it is necessary to renew all of the existing levy, which is a tax in excess of the 10 mil limitation for the purpose of avoiding an operating deficit of the school district. The amount of money that is necessary to raise for that purpose is $7.3 million for the calendar year that the millage is in effect. Such renewal emergency levy shall be in effect for a period of 10 years and shall include a levy upon the 2017 tax list, commencing in 2017, first due in calendar year 2018, if approved by a majority of the electors voting there on May 2nd, 2017. We did publicly discuss this at our last December meeting. Amy, is there anything you would like to add?
No, I just wanted to remind everybody that this $7 million is what we currently operate with, and if you remember on the forecast, we're showing future years at operating deficit, so we still would have to find efficiencies and changes in our operations in order to come in zero or on a positive, but the $7 million is what we're currently operating with, and so is why there is a need.
And this also will not be an increase to our taxpayers, correct?
The dollar amount is not an increase. It's the same exact dollar amount that we're currently collecting on. Each individual homeowner, it depends on their valuation compared to the overall valuation and how much the valuation millage it takes to bring in the $7.3 million. But the dollar amount is the same as what we're currently collecting.
Okay.
Amy, and I don't know if it's supposed to be noted here or not, but the 10-year, we discussed the 5 versus 10. And I know, Todd, your update indicated 10. Is that somewhere in the resolution that we're going to do 10 years?
I think it is.
I believe
Yes.
It says a period of 10 years.
Then I guess I missed it. Oh,
it's the third line from the bottom.
okay.
Renewal emergency levy should be in effect for a period of 10 years.
My bad. Thank you.
Anybody else have questions?
Superintendent Treasurer recommend the Board of Education approve the resolution of necessity for the renewal of an emergency tax levy as listed.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Are there any other questions or comments? I would just like to say, to remind all of our voters that the last levy that was on was a bond levy, and that is the money that's being used to build these beautiful new schools that are very much needed and have been needed for years. This money is used for operation, and it's a renewal of the existing tax levy. So we look forward to getting started and everybody working together to get this one passed. Okay, Chris, call for a vote. Motion passes 5-0.
The next item is a fiscal item also, vendor contracts. In compliance with ORC 3313.33, attached is a list of vendor contracts requiring board authorization. The superintendent and treasurer recommend the Board of Education authorize the vendor contracts as listed.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any questions or comments on the vendor contracts? Okay, Chris, call for the vote. Motion passes 5-0.
The next item is a fiscal item also, then and now certificates over $3,000. The superintendent and treasurer recommend the Board of Education authorize the payment over $3,000 requiring a then and now certificate as listed.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Are there any questions regarding the then and now certificates? Okay, Chris? Motion passes 5-0.
The next item is a certificated licensed personnel item. Superintendent recommends the Board of Education approve the certificated licensed personnel items as listed.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded on the certificated and licensed personnel items. Are there any questions? Okay, Chris? Motion passes 5-0.
The next item is a classified personnel item. Superintendent recommends the Board of Education approve the classified personnel items as listed.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any questions regarding the classified personnel items? Okay, Chris? Motion passes 5-0.
The next item is a curriculum and instruction item. It is an action item. It is 2017-2018 program of studies that was introduced as information at the December meeting. The superintendent recommends the Board of Education approve the program of studies as listed.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any questions or comments regarding the new program of studies? Okay, Chris? Motion passes 5-0.
Next item is a student service item. 2017-2018 uniform policy for Northwest High School and PRMS. It was introduced as information at the December meeting. The superintendent recommends the Board of Education approve the uniform policy as listed.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded on the uniform policy for Northwest High School and Pleasant Run Middle School. Does anyone have any questions or comments? Okay, Chris? Motion passes 5-0. And now we'll move to the superintendent's update.
Okay, I have a couple items that I want to talk about. One, going back to the levy. We will start forming our levy team committee, just like we did last time. The last time we did, we started about September 3rd, 2 months prior in advance. We will do 2 months prior to May again. We will start with working with the Clippard building and see if we can start our kickoff meeting there. I think it's very important that we get information out because I think, Pam, you brought up a good point when you talked about the bond levy in retrospect to a renewal levy. And here they go again. They built these buildings, and now they're asking for another levy. We were very honest when we went through the bond levy that this was just for new schools. We actually told everybody we talked to in our small groups that there would be one more renewal coming up. The object of going from 5 years to 10 years is not to try to cheat the system, but it is to help taxpayers so they don't have something coming around on them every 2 to 3 years. This would put it at 10 years. We are being fiscally responsible as a district. We are making cuts as needed. We adjust teaching staff based on our yearly enrollment. So all those things will play in part. But again, this renewal is very important. It's $7.2 million that we would have to lose in funding if it does not pass. So we will get all our committees together. We will work very hard on going door to door, contacting parents, and doing everything we can, just in case people were wondering. PTA presidents asked this morning, so I just wanted to make sure everybody knew when we would start. I wanted to talk about the new buildings. You won't see much going on right now. It's so cold out, the ground's frozen. I know that they're very eager to get started, and once things start unfreezing and getting softer, you will see some movement and stuff going on the sites. Our enrollment as we currently stand is about 100 to 150 lower than what was projected. We're not as concerned about that. At one time, I think you remember we talked about it was way down. It's catching back up. So between the first semester and the second semester, it goes back and forth. Remember that we are building 3 schools that are capable of sustaining 900 students for enrollment. We currently, as a district, have between 2,550 and 2,342 currently enrolled students K through 6. So you look at that, and if we take our 5 buildings, K through 6, their enrollment is 2,342. We are not going to meet the 2,550 to 2,700 ranges, which is what the new buildings will run. This, to me, is a good thing. What we're hoping will occur with building the new buildings is to increase our enrollment based on all-day kindergarten. I think when we've talked to Jenny and Daryl and some of the rest of us and Pauletta who've been around the district for a long time, close connections to parochials, we hope to get kids back to the total of anywhere from 50 to 100. That'll put us up around the 2450 mark. So we're only 100 off of where we looked at. So the next thing we will go out and look at, just so the community knows, is what can we do with those Cole-Rainelle students? We have air conditioning. It is better. But if you have new schools, why wouldn't you look at putting those kids in the new schools? Now, the other thing that's going to be interesting is there's only so much room. I think Cole-Rainelle currently has 3 kindergarten classrooms. I think Montford Heights has 2, if I'm not mistaken. We have built the new schools to hold 6 and up to 7. So obviously Montford Heights and Cole-Rainelle don't have any more room for kindergarten. So there's a good chance they will go to the new buildings and after their kindergarten year transfer back to their home school. What could change there is if we keep getting increased enrollment, which is what we think will occur with the new buildings, then we're going to start busting at the seams, which is what we expect to do, and get our enrollment back to the 2,700 that we're built for. But either way, let's say for some reason it doesn't get back to that. What I want people to be aware of is we will look at the Cole-Rainelle elementary kids and do our best to put them in new buildings. It makes no sense to have brand new buildings and not have them full to capacity. And we're not talking about closing Cole-Rainelle, but remember, if we can move some kids out, we're making $18 million, I believe is what we're up to, or 17.4 through OSFC because we're building according to their requirements. That's free money from the state. So it may result in us building a smaller campus on the Cole-Rainelle, Colerain Middle site, and we'd be closer to having that money. And again, our goal was not to ask the taxpayers for money to build that campus. So I just want people to be aware of the discussions that will be going on in the future. You'll notice under our classified personnel items, we have added a person to the transportation office. There's going to be a lot of redistricting going on in terms of bus routes. You're going from 13 or 14, and Bob can relate to this, to 28. So we're going to have to change patterns and do things. So we're putting a person in there that can specifically work on this or free somebody up to work on it, because that's going to be a full-time job for a year and a half to figure out what we need to do. We don't want to overbus, we don't want to underbus, we want to do the best to save money. We will continue to look at more UTS vans. The 2 we purchased have been outstanding in terms of cutting UTS costs. So we are looking at possibility of purchasing more to save more and more money as we transport special education students to different locations. So this person that you saw in classified personnel with the job description and that is particularly going to free somebody up or allow them to work with VersaTran to set up the routes that need to be in place. Because if we do have to take 100, 150 kids from Cole-Rainelle and put them in the new buildings, that's going to cause a lot of transportation issues. And we want to make sure with the 3 schools we divide them equally, because we don't want to have to go year to year and refigure the sum of number that needs to be there. We want to be consistent from neighborhoods producing children to go to the same school. So there's a lot of work to be done and a lot that needs to go as we go forward. So I just want the public and everybody else to be aware of what we're going to do once we get a little bit farther into this.
I talked to Terry a little bit about the redistricting and stuff like that, and I volunteered to help him if he needs anything, if you have any, put any committees together to discuss that I probably know the district as well as anybody. And,
Yeah, the committees
glad to
is
help with that.
a key point. We have to stay in front of this so people don't think we're trying to pull games on them. So we will have committees formed to deal with these. We'll have a naming committee for the schools. We'll have transportation committee. We'll have different committees that will get everybody involved. So there's no surprises once we get to the point of opening the new schools in August.
Todd, on the lower enrollment, are you seeing certain grades, or is it pretty much across the board?
It's across the board. The last 2 years have been down in kindergarten, Jenny, as I recall. So I honestly think they're going to all-day kindergarten, because if you don't, then you have to have a babysitter for the second half of the day or a daycare to go to. I think we'll draw some of those back, and our numbers are maintained.
Like none on our projections, all of a sudden we're getting these weird skewed numbers in first grade. Welsh is just really down. And I don't know whether it's the change in the demographics there, like it did in Berkeley, but it's just crazy.
I know last time I walked Welch to deliver flyers, there was a lot of empty houses, so we've got to work with the township on how to get families back in there. I think building new schools and encouraging folks will help that also.
I think we're going to see an increase, just even people that, not just kindergarten, but just the new schools in general are going to bring more families, I think, into our district.
And our academics are going up. I mean, we've presented data that is showing that firmly. So if we continue on the trend we are, by the time we all open in August 2018, we'll be celebrating quite a few things.
And we have some new housing developments out in the western part of the district along Thompson and Forfeit Run and those areas. They're continuing to grow. There's still plenty of room out there. One of my son's friends lives out there, and looking around like this is going to be going for a while. There's going to be a lot more houses.
Another thing too, that old farmer's family out on Jessup Road, there were 38 acres and the man would not sell it out there kind of before you get to Gaines. Well, it's for sale now, $2.7 million for the 26 acre and $1.3 million for the 12 acre by the old Brisker mansion. And the full farmer would not sell it. I mean, he was offered millions for that when they were building. So that's going to be some nice homes. Todd, what is the total enrollment right now for the district?
Give me a second, I'll pull it right up for you. Total enrollment, grand total, K through 12 is 8930, 1 through 12 is 8338.
Okay. It's hard to imagine the 1974, 75, 15,000 students. I remember classrooms with 35 kids, and we'd have to find a desk, and it was just crazy.
It was.
Anybody else? Okay. Is that it, Todd?
That's
For your
it,
update?
sorry.
Okay, no problem. At this time, we'll move into community comments and questions. And I know we have a Boy Scout troop out here. What troop number? 591. 591, we welcome you. Just to let you know, all of us receive the agenda ahead of time, so we've all had time to look over all this, so we don't just get here and just go through this real quickly. We get it, actually we got it last week. We have a chance to look at it. If we have any questions, we can individually call whoever, pertaining to individual questions. And so that's why typically once we're here on Monday night, things go pretty smooth with the voting. But is there anything during the meeting? Is there any questions do you have?
This is my first time here, so just out of curiosity, I noticed that only that half of the board votes. Why did that half not vote?
Okay, that is a good question. The 5 of us here are actually the elected school board members. everybody from Todd down, they're employees of the district, from our superintendent, director of human resources, our assistant superintendent, director of curriculum services, our assistant treasurer, and our treasurer. So they don't vote. The 5 of us vote on everything. They run, Todd's the superintendent, so he runs the district along with, and then this is his team that's with the individual departments. And so when they have things, they bring them to the board, but it's up to the 5 of us to vote and make, the decisions as far as anything they bring to us. So that's why it's just 5 of us voting, but that was a good question.
Very observant.
Yes.
I spoke to them prior to the meeting, and they were hoping for some controversial issue.
I hope those days are way behind us.
We could talk about the college football playoff game tonight.
There we go.
I might stir some controversy.
So, yeah, you're the big
I'm
Buckeye
Clemson.
fan.
Well, yeah, we're Clemson tonight.
Are you?
Yeah, I think right now we're in a very good place where we have a board that all of us have the same goal, and it's what's best for the students of this district. And I think I can speak for all of us that we are just so excited to see ground moving and know that we're getting these new buildings, and it's not only going to benefit the students that go to the schools now, but the community, because there'll be extra space for fields and rentals and things. So I think all of us right now are real excited. And even though the ground's frozen, it's still pretty cool to go by and see all that big equipment at the 3 different sites.
I will admit, I am a little sad that you're being teared down elementary school. So,
Actually, it was
I know what
Mr.
you're saying.
Dexel's
I feel
elementary.
the same way, because it was my school too.
And I'll be honest with you, mine was Pleasant Run Elementary, so it's kind of bittersweet as well. But when you see what's going to be put in its place, I think you'll be pleasantly surprised. And then also, we didn't have it tonight, but we typically have at least one of the 2 meetings a month, what's called a SALT report, and it's the Student Achievement Liaison. And what it is we showcase different activities with students. So sometimes we might bring in a particular program at the high school that the kids do, and they come in and they're the ones that present to us. We have elementary kids that come in and talk about, whether it's the Lego or all different kinds of programs. So that's always one of my favorite parts of the meetings. But tonight is a little bit different because we had 3 different meetings kind of all put together, because that's all kind of dictated by the law. So the other meetings are a little bit more interesting. Any other questions? Anybody else? Okay, at this time we'll go to board members' comments. Chris?
Okay, Pam, just wanted to briefly talk about the naming of the new elementary schools. And this is a trivia question. If Jim or Pam gets this right, you will have my forever respect and admiration. What was the runner-up name for Northwest High School? Because I was part of my class, is the class that split at Coleraine High School, and there was a big contest and people voted. I'm not sure who all voted, but I think I remember the second name, which I liked better because I thought it was a little more distinct and had a little more historical. Can anybody tell me?
I was only in elementary, but I don't know. I'll be honest.
You don't know? Jim?
No,
I believe the runner-up name was Shawnee Run High School.
Oh, you know what? You have said that before.
Yeah.
Now that you said that.
And I kind of like the fact of the Native Americans that populated the area, but it didn't win. Northwest did. I thought Northwest was a good second. That was my second choice. But I'm hoping we can get the contest. It was a lot of fun. And I'm hoping we can do maybe just to get some, energy going. Maybe as we approach the levy, we can start with that. And I would be more than happy to volunteer my services as chairman, so long as my 3 choices for names get picked. It was fun. It was a lot of fun when we had the contest. And I want to say it was just students that could vote. But I'm sure parents had some say. But that would be something I think that would really kind of get community involvement. And since they're going to be pouring cement this spring, and we'd be just about a year off, maybe we could start that. Like late spring, early summer.
I will say, just a comment to your comment. It's hard for me to picture Shawnee when we have 3 nights up here. I mean, Northwest just seems like it should be a night. But I told Todd before, I guess really right after the levy passed, I said, you realize the hardest thing about all this is going to be when it comes time to naming these schools. So I think it's going to be very challenging.
Yes.
But a good problem. But
Yeah, a good problem, and then it should be a fun one, and we'll have to decide a fair way, like, you know, do the students' votes count as much as the parents, or, because there's going to be probably a lot more students voting than parents, and then all the shareholders, but that was a lot of fun, and I think we even voted on the logo back then, as I recall. And there were some crazy names people were coming up with. I mean, people get real creative.
Okay, Michael?
Looking forward to a productive year on the board and a successful levy campaign, and certainly we'll have some fun along the way, as people have mentioned, with the naming of the buildings. And you know, I went to the Northwest High School basketball game on Saturday. It was good to see a win over Talawanda, and also saw that Coleraine won a few games. Boys basketball varsity won a few games over Christmas break. So it's looking like a good year.
Yeah, they were in that tournament up in Detroit, I believe it was. Yeah, they played well.
Okay, Bob?
I'm excited about everything that's going on in the district. I think we're going to have a great year. Hopefully the district will support the levy, and we'll pass that, and things will continue on the way they have. Todd, I hope you feel better. I know you toughed it out tonight.
Not one
Good
meeting, but
job.
3. Okay, Jim?
I just want to piggyback on what Bob said about the levy. It's very important. We need to get this passed, because cutting $7 million out of our budget would be disastrous, I think. And, you know, it's not going to raise taxes, and just keeping it the same as it is now. That's very important. And I think the taxpayers will be for that.
Yeah, it'd be a shame to have new buildings and not be able to operate them efficiently.
Yep, absolutely.
And that's actually what my point was going to be. The excitement could change drastically of these new schools if we would all of a sudden not have this $7 million to operate what's going to go on in these 3 schools. So everybody out there in TV land, be ready. We need your help. The last levy, it was wonderful to see how many community members and how united the staff was and the board. So we look forward to doing that again. So with that, I believe we're going to move into an executive session.
Yes, the superintendent recommends that the Board of Education approve the motion to move into executive session. The board will approve a motion to move into executive to consider appointment, employment, dismissal, discipline, promotion, demotion, or compensation of a public employee or official.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Will we be making any,
No.
okay. Well, let's go ahead and vote first. Chris? Motion passes 5-0. We're going to move into executive session, and what that means is there are certain legal things that we can go and privately talk about. When we come back out, we'll just adjourn the meeting. In this case, we're not going to come out and take any other official votes or anything. So you're welcome to hang out if you want, but honestly, once we come back, we'll just call for an adjournment. We'll take the vote, and then we'll all head home. So with that, we can head into executive session. Thank you.
Thank you.